Hello, my friends. It's Sabrina from Tree of Life Inner Guidance. Thank you for stopping by. If you found this channel by accident, super. I hope you stick around and subscribe and like. And if you're coming back again, thank you so much for being here. So I need to reiterate, all of the material on this channel is for spiritual and entertainment purposes only. So today is Sunday afternoon, the Sunday afternoon of the partial solar eclipse, new moon in Virgo. And I'm almost afraid to be on here because I have to tell you, oh, this is too crazy. And I almost feel like all this stuff I pulled out here, I don't know. So if you're new to the channel, what this channel is about is basically, hopefully for you, some coping skills for these crazy times. So I come on here, give a little chat, whatever the universe puts that bug in my bonnet, the bee in my bonnet to talk about. And hopefully it will provide some insight and some useful things to help you navigate this emotional whiplash we're all going through right now. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the eclipse today. Now, I know many astrologers and people have been talking about these eclipses in September, and I am certainly not immune to these eclipses. So I pulled up the chart, the eclipse, and it's right here next to me. So if you see me glancing over, that's what's going on. All my cats are locked out of the room for this recording. And also the door is shut so my tenants can't hear me and don't think I'm insane and out here stirring a cauldron. But I might do that too. So anyway, I pulled up the chart today and I'm in Mountain Time. I'm in New Mexico. So the exact time of the eclipse today, Mountain Time, was 1:54 p.m. Well, when I pulled up this chart, I almost had a heart attack. I looked at it, and the ascendant of this chart, this partial solar eclipse today, is 25 degrees of Sagittarius. Who cares? My sun is 25 degrees of Sagittarius. I looked at that and I'm like, I don't know if I should hide or if I should just get on here and just do my thing. But why that's a big deal is because, of course, the eclipse is setting off my chart. The other lunar eclipse we had earlier in the month was also right on my chart. So I guess I can't get out of this. So why is an eclipse such a big deal? And what does that mean? So you have the sun, and then the moon gets in the way of the sun, and then there's the earth. So you have that alignment. And I'm sure you've probably seen pictures of eclipses. And there was a fantastic one, I think it was about a year ago, and I was in Arizona at the time. But anyway, you see what's going on here, partial, annular, and total eclipse. So what happens is when the moon gets in between the sun and the earth, they all have to be in a straight line. It darkens the sun. Now, it's kind of fun to go see, and it's a big deal because it doesn't happen all that often. We do, eclipses each year. But I always think, when we have these eclipses, I think of what happened centuries and centuries ago when there was no internet, there was no way to communicate what was going on in the sky. And, people would see these events and be terrified because they'd be like, what is going on? The sun is blocked out. And, then back then you didn't have these glasses you could look through and things like that. So you could really do some damage to your eyes with a solar eclipse. But I always think back of what these people must have been thinking about when these events happen, and they didn't have, they didn't know. They don't have the things that we have today to know what's going on, so we're not completely terrified. So when the sun and the moon are together in the same sign, same time, same place, that is a new moon. And that's what we're having today, or had. It was at 1:54 p.m. to be exact. And this is usually for new beginnings. However, this is a little different this new moon. Isn't everything different? I mean, every time you go on to listen to any sort of podcast, people say, well, usually it happens like this, but it's not happening that way anymore. And so today's story of the eclipse is the same thing. Usually a new moon is a new beginning. So it's when you plant seeds. You can't really see anything going on yet. So it's kind of dark because you have your crescent moon and it's dark, but you plant your seeds and you plant your new intention on what you want to see manifest and grow that may come to fruition for the full moon. But in this case, because this is what's called the anaretic degree of Virgo, 29 degrees, the sun is 29 Virgo, the moon is 29 Virgo. And as you may or may not know, each astrological sign has 30 degrees from 0 to 29. So when it's at the 29th degree, that's kind of the accumulation of that sign, everything that it is about for its last final hoorah at that 29-degree point. So with something being 29 degrees of Virgo, the sun and the moon, at that anaretic full-blown degree of Virgo, this can bring up endings as well. Now, it's been one hell of a week here in the United States, probably in the world also. And there's all kinds of things that have just been kind of coming to a head for a new moon, which is really unusual. It's a full moon that things usually come to a head. But when you have an eclipse, it's super powerful energy because of that lineup of sun, moon, earth. The energy is amplified. Now that it's at this very last degree of Virgo, all that Virgo energy is amplified. Plus, here we have the sun and the moon, Virgo. Then we have Saturn, exactly opposite the sun and the moon. Saturn is in Pisces. It's at 28 degrees. It's going back. It's gonna turn around and go forward and run us all over again. Funny, not funny. But so when you have planets in opposition, it's like, how they say opposites attract? Well, yes, they will attract because they kind of, the combination of those two opposites would be ideal if the two opposites could meet in the center and take the best of each side and somehow commingle those things and find balance and harmony in those two oppositions. But it doesn't always work that way. Often the two opposites butt heads because they're different ends of the spectrum. So you have that opposition there. So there's some tension with Saturn and Pisces. Saturn's not delighted to be in Pisces. Pisces is ruled by Neptune. And so now we have Neptune and Saturn conjunct out of sign, meaning they're in the same sign. Saturn's 28 degrees of Pisces. Neptune is at 0 Aries. So they're basically together traveling, and they will travel both together in Aries. But so you have two things that don't really get along to begin with. Saturn is structure, discipline, Chronos, father time. It's all about responsibility. It's about doing the right thing. It's the Lord of karma. Neptune can be confusion, delusion, illusion, addictions. It can also be very spiritual, very caring, very empathetic, very dreamy, very kind, very all-inclusive. So you can see where those two don't really get along that well. And right now, Neptune is in Aries, and Aries wants to take over everything all the time, like right now. And Neptune is like, oh, can we just kind of float on this in the pool today and, sip some wine and not go out and conquer the world. And Aries is like, yeah, no, we got to get busy. And then Saturn's over here in Pisces, and Pisces wants to include everyone and, oh, whatever they did, it's okay. And Saturn's like, yeah, no way, it's not okay. So we've got these outer planets and these strange signs for them, and then they're going to be traveling together. So it's an interesting mix, kind of like water and oil. You shake it up and it hangs out together for a while, and then it's going to separate. Okay. So Sun in Virgo, conjunct the moon, opposite Saturn and Neptune. So this is a lot going on right now. So many of you that if you're a Virgo, if you're a Pisces, if you're a Sag, if you're a Gemini and you're at the end of the signs, 25 to 29 degrees and up, you might be feeling tension. You might be feeling like, well, this is what I want to do, but it's not the right thing to do, but I don't care. I want to do it anyway, but no, don't do it. Or should I leave the situation? Should I stay or should I go now? It's like this tug of war, but instead of it going this direction, it's going this direction. It's going up and down and out to the side. So you're feeling like you're getting pulled in a bunch of different directions. You're trying to do the right thing. You want to end some things. You want to start some other things. And then other people are coming into the dynamic and preventing your forward, but you can't go back. So it's like you're in this kind of, you're in a bouncy house. So imagine you're in a bouncy house. They shut all the doors and you're trying to bounce through the roof that has an opening. They shut that on you. You can't get through the bottom and you're trying to get out the front door and the back door. So you're in the bouncy house. And you don't know what to do about some things. And then maybe some of these things have already happened to you and you're in your bouncy house. And then all of a sudden you've just been bounced around so much that you just kind of sit in the corner and you're waiting for the bounce to settle, and you're not sure what's going to happen when that bouncy house settles. And then I assure you, the bouncy house is going to settle some. Not this week. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But the bouncy house is going to settle a little. But, like when you're in the bouncy house, even walking to the door, you feel a little bit unstable. So I just have a feeling some of you have been feeling this way on this instability thing. You can't go right, you can't go left, you can't go up, you can't go down. And so you're kind of maneuvering around like this, trying to figure out what's going to happen when it all comes to a screeching halt. Well, the first thing that I want to say is, if you have been having difficulty between these eclipses, many people have. My friend just messaged me from Pennsylvania. She fell down this morning and broke her foot, and she was getting ready to go on a camping trip. She's a Libra, but I'm pretty sure she's a Virgo rising Libra. So that eclipse caught her and threw her down the stairs. That's not really even funny. But if you've been having a really hard time these few weeks in September, I do want to say I'm really, really sorry. And because I think a lot of people have been having a hard time. And I don't want to sound trite. I don't want to sound unempathetic in any way, shape, or form. But one of the things I'm going to say is, if you keep spinning in the negativity, you are never going to get out of the bouncy house. Okay. So if you keep bouncing up and down and side to side, and I can't get out. Okay. If you keep that up, you aren't going to get out of this. So to find the way out of the bouncy house is to make your insides, meaning your head, meaning your heart, meaning your guts, if you can get that as calm as possible. Now, I know nothing in the world today is calm. And I'm sorry about that too. However, you can control yourself. The only thing that you can control is your own reactions. I mean, you can try and control other people as much as you want. You ought to try herding cats. That's all sorts of fun. But you can only control you, your reactions to what's going on. And the more bouncy house you are inside, the more that is going to come on the outside. And that is not going to be helpful to anyone around you. And it's not going to be helpful to you, especially because you've got to get your insides collected. Okay. Now, I have a very dear friend, and when we hang out together, it's obviously we're good friends. We've been friends for several years now, and we go places. And, you know, one of our famous things that we say to each other is, "Oh, shut up, you bitch." And that's what we say to each other. And we're quite the comic pair when we go out together, because the way we just bring out the crazy in each other, and we have a really good time. But she is completely opposite. She's got a huge Cancer stellium. I've got a huge Capricorn stellium, and plus I'm a Sag, and she's a Cancer with the Cancer stellium. So she internalizes everything. And what happens when you internalize all this and when you absorb all this? One thing I know about is working with bodies. I've been in the body business for 40 years, training people, training instructors, working on anatomy charts. So what I do know is if your insides are a bouncy house, it's just a matter of time before it comes out, and it's not going to come out in pleasantries. It could be heartburn. It could be anxiety, which we're living in anxiety, but we got to keep that at bay. But so she doesn't talk about stuff that's going on, okay? And she doesn't get it out of her system. I am the opposite. I will talk about it unless I'm really, 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 really angry, and then I won't talk for days, and then it will be nuclear. But I try to get it all out. So I come in like the whole entire bouncy house, and then I'm like, all right, why don't we sit down and have a cocktail and talk this through? So my friend just internalizes it all, and her insides are always a bouncy house. So she fusses about everything, fuss and fuss and fuss and fuss, because she doesn't let it out. So what I'm saying to you all is, if your insides are that bouncy house and it is coming out, okay, in not so favorable ways, you need to harness all of that energy and anxiety and all of that stuff that is coming from the outside world that you cannot control. So you can only control yourself and your reactions. And the sooner you get a grip on the bouncy house, the easier it's going to be to make your way over to that door. And I bet it will open and you'll be able to get out of there. So if you've been going through this with the eclipses, that's the best piece of advice I could give. And it's like, oh yeah, that's nice, Sabrina. Thanks. We all know that. And how am I going to do that? Well, here's the thing. What I said a couple weeks ago, not even a couple weeks ago, a couple days ago, I don't even know what day it is. I'm going to hold this little sign up here because I talked about this was actually 4 days ago. Focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. Another way to put that is don't visualize the problem. So let's say you lost your job, okay? If all you do is get in that bouncy house and bounce around and say, I lost my job. What am I going to do? I have no money. How am I going to pay the bills? And you bounce and you bounce and you bounce and you bounce up and you bounce down and you bounce side to side. What am I going to do? And on and on. I think that it's okay at first if you do have that little bouncy house episode, because it's a big deal if you lose your job or whatever, you know, moving, death, job loss, divorce, major stressors. I think moving is the #1 stressor. Death is #2, divorce, which is #3. Death and divorce are kind of the same. They're the loss. So any of these things are a loss. So I think that you are absolutely fine doing a little bit of that bouncy house at first, because it might have come as a shock and sudden. And that's what will happen with eclipses. You may feel some energy coming on, and then you're edgy and you can't figure out why. And then boom, it happens. In 2007, this was over a 10-day period. I lost my only family members. I lost my mother first and my grandmother, ended a relationship for the most part, and I almost got arrested. I did not get arrested. The relationship did end, and my mother and grandmother were dead. So this happened in an eclipse period in 2007. That was major, 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 major. And I was pretty trash for about 2 years from that. I mean, I moved on and I did what I had to do. But so, and I got hit so hard from so many directions so fast, I didn't have time to be in the bouncy house. I was in the workhouse trying to pretend my business was fine, which it was. It was booming, and it kept my mind off of everything. But so have your bouncy house moment. Then you need to start visualizing the solution. So don't keep visualizing what happened and the loss. Visualize what you were going to do. What is the solution? Okay, so don't focus on the problem, focus on the solution. Because the more you focus on the problem, the more it's going to magnify, the more you're going to bounce, and you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get anything done. Your insides are going to hurt. Your outsides are probably going to hurt. And nobody's going to want to be around you. And they're not going to want to help you if you're bouncing. So I'm sorry if you had some drama. Have your little bouncy house moment, and then start to visualize what your solutions are going to be to the situation. Okay. And again, I know some of you have had a really hard time, and I feel bad about that, because I've had my own hard times and I know what it's like. I really do. So hopefully this will help you, because the more you spin and bounce, you cannot calm your internal systems, and you also can't think straight. Okay. So I have a little card here I'm going to read about that. And this I just got yesterday. I was out thrifting. This is the Healing Energy Oracle. And I love these cards because they fit in my hands. And as I've said before on these shows, I don't really shuffle. I shuffle and pick out cards before I come on, because my hands are small and I'm just waiting for these cards to fly all over the room. So this is the back of the card. Very cool. And then I will hold that up. It's called Affirmation. I listen to myself and acknowledge my needs. I assert myself and retain my power. Remember, you can only control you. I am brave and gentle. I don't have to be afraid of others. I respect myself and I am respected by others. So there is your affirmation. Try to get out of the bouncy house. So now I'm going to talk about the next couple of days, what's going on here. So I don't have time to do a full-blown astrology lesson with you, but I like to put things into terms that you can kind of understand in everyday life. So we have an aspect, and what aspect means in astrology is how the planets get along or don't. So in the next couple of days, we have an aspect between Mars and Pluto. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, let me just say, first of all, it's a tension aspect. It's a square. So the planets are at 90-degree angles. So now remember, each planet sign has 30 degrees. So 90 degrees is a square. So we have Mars coming up to go into Scorpio. So you have Scorpio, 30, Sag, 30, Capricorn, 30, all 30 degrees. So the next planet we're looking at here is Pluto, which is 90 degrees away. 90 degrees is the square angle in astrology. It means these signs don't really see eye to eye, and they could get a little disgruntled. So we have Mars. Mars is the god of war. Now that doesn't mean, we already have enough wars going on. That doesn't mean there's going to be another one. So Mars is also your aggression, how you assert yourself. It's sexual energy, not love energy, but sexual energy. And it is going to go into Scorpio. Now, Scorpio's intense. And the original ruler of Scorpio, until we discovered Pluto, was Mars. Okay. So now we have Pluto in Aquarius. So Mars is going to go into 0 and 1 degrees of Scorpio. Pluto is in Aquarius at 1 degrees. So Aquarius and Scorpio are fixed. So that means they're pretty set in their ways. So you have fixed energy that doesn't see eye to eye. Potential. I always talk about potential with astrology. I'm not going to predict anything. I'm going to say there's potential for some serious headbutting. Okay. Pluto is death, sex, and taxes. It's transformation. It's power or power struggles. It does rule death, sex, taxes, the 8th house. So you have the god of war up against the god of the underworld in fixed signs that neither of them want to budge with how they feel about things. It could get ugly. Now Mars, as you picture the god of war, is going to have a sword or an axe and a shield, you know, and Pluto is coming up from the underworld and is no better. So it's like Satan incarnate coming in here. So the next few days, this aspect, let me rectify this here. All right. So I don't know the exact time, but on Tuesday. Yeah. So it's now. It's in the air right now. This Mars butting heads with Pluto. Now, the thing about astrology, this may not affect you directly. So you may not have anything in your chart around early Scorpio or early Aquarius. Also include Taurus, the opposite sign of Scorpio, and Leo, the opposite sign of Aquarius. Okay, so now we have that other X. Okay, just like we have going on here with the sun and moon and Saturn and Neptune. People may be nasty. If this is hitting them in their chart directly, they may be nasty, combative, unreasonable, just dig their heels in and say, well, I don't care what you think. This is what I'm doing. It could be in the collective. The battles could get worse, or there could be a major something. So why I just want to alert you to this. I don't want to be a fatalist or any of those sorts of things. But if it's not affecting you, if you don't have anything in your astrology chart around the early degrees of these fixed signs, Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, it might not be something that's going on with you. But when you're out driving, be careful, because people may be very aggressive, more aggressive than usual. So there's potential for aggressive, combative, warlike situations. I didn't want to say warlike because, there's already enough war going on, but just be aware of this. And it's already in motion now. It's going to be in motion more tomorrow and even more on Tuesday. So it's good to be aware of this, and may it not affect you or anyone you care about. Just be aware. There is opportunity for some nasty grams over the next couple of days. It might even out by the end of the week when Mars goes beyond Pluto and breaks away from that direct, square, combative aspect. Okay. So along these lines, I like to draw cards, and I draw the cards before I come on, and lo and behold, the cards always go with what I want to talk about. So when I was shuffling the cards, hoping that they didn't fly all over the room, a couple come out. One did fly out, and then another one came out, and I asked the universe, angels and guides, what do I want to tell people for the next few days? What should they be aware of? So I used the Gilded Tarot. Okay. And what came out is Judgment, right? Now, I think these are really groovy cards. And what is Judgment? Judgment is what you reap, you will sow. It's the karma card. And then the other card that came out is the Chariot. Now, for some reason, I like the Chariot, probably because it moves fast, and I like to move fast as well. But what the Chariot reminds me of, and it's probably because I really liked these old movies, Quo Vadis, Caesar, the Ten Commandments, anything Egyptian, I'm obsessed with. I have a big ankh over there that you can't see. I have another one, a little one there too. But it reminds me of all the chariots that you would see in these movies. So when you look at the Chariot card, you see the Chariot, and you usually see these are sphinxes on here, on this particular card, but you usually see horses drawing the Chariot. And you see somebody in there and they've got a whip. They're in a hurry. They're in a big, big hurry. So when you see the Chariot card, that's why the artwork and the pictures on these cards is so important, because it really represents what the cards represent and are trying to tell you. So what these two cards together tell me, karma this week is coming hard and fast for somebody. Oh, do I know? Oh boy, do I wish. Anyway, karma is coming hard and fast this week in a variety of ways. So just wait for it as Well, hello again. That was, I just got cut off and this is part two. So I have no idea how this is going to upload. So anyway, hi, it's Sabrina. This is part two of the little eclipse talk. And I just got thrown out of my own Zoom, but now I'm back and hopefully it's fine. Anyway, where was I? I was talking about the wild offering. I don't know where I got cut off at, but anyway, this is called Creative Blocks, and I'm going to read that to you. Okay. If you are an artist of any kind, you can offer all work to the divine, making it God's alone. Now, whatever God, goddess you worship, I offer this for the highest good to benefit the planet. Release me from any blocks and restrictions. May this serve all who need. So now, when this card came out, I just felt like some of you have probably been having a hard time over the last couple, 2-3 weeks, and have probably been in the middle of creative projects, and because of the energy have been kind of put to kind of a stop. And hopefully you're going to be able to pull out of that. And one of the things when you don't know what to do or what direction to turn, I usually just surrender. I mean, I get in the bouncy house for a while, but I usually just surrender. I throw my hands in the air and I say, all right, I don't know what to do. I'm turning it all over to a higher power and I am just stopping. So hopefully that will be helpful to you. And if you are an artist, I'm going to hold that up here. So if you want to take a screenshot of that, you can. Okay. And I did just very briefly, so I don't rattle on here for 45 minutes. I did pull a couple of other cards, which made me laugh out loud. Just like when I pulled the chart up for this eclipse, when the ascendant was 25 Sag, I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Just when I was gonna not do this talk after all, and then I had to say, no, you're supposed to come on here. So I pulled these cards from, and I adore this deck. I adore it. Okay. This is the Business Astrology Oracle. And I love this deck. So I just pulled a couple of cards from that deck because I'm sure some of you are going through business transitions as well. And when I pulled these two cards, I pulled one and then just for fun, I took the next one. So the 9th house, expansion. Now the 9th house is ruled by Sagittarius. It's ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is all about expansion. Sagittarius is all about expansion. The 9th house is about faraway travel across the seas. And as you see, this is a canoe and they're paddling along there. 3rd house, Gemini, is travel close around, like in the tri-state area. But 9th house is you are expanding your horizons worldwide. And I'm not sure why this message come out, if it was for me or for you guys, but if you have opportunities to do expansion through your business somehow, take this energy of this new moon ending some stuff that's no longer working for you, beginning and expanding into stuff that is working for you or that will work for you. I think that would be some good advice to follow. And then this is just hysterical. And I have to show you, it's almost embarrassing. So I pulled Taurus, the Earth Maiden. Now, like I said, I'm not sure if part of this reading is for me or for you, but I am a Taurus rising Sag. So anyway, now you know my whole astrological chart, but that's pretty funny. So I guess that's the universe's way of saying, I'm supposed to come on here and give this talk for you today, and I hope you found it helpful. And if you need any more explaining on astrology or these cards, or as I said, I'm working on a runes workshop coming up, which that is, my runes board is over there. But anyway, I am available to do some guidance sessions, and I will eventually be putting information up how to get a hold of me. But anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this talk. And the very first card that came out when I was shuffling the very first deck, this card popped out. And I'm going to keep it out. And I'm just going to read it to you because I think this is so awesome, because it's not easy coming on here and doing a YouTube channel. Just let me tell you, I am super extroverted, but you know, I just put myself out to the entire world, and some days I think I'm insane. But this card is so awesome, and I hope I'm going to tape it on my computer and remember to read it to you when I'm done each time. So this is about work, and I'll hold it up for you again. I'm need to relieve suffering on the planet. May all who need me find me. The divine is my complete source for all prosperity and will provide. So that is my little saying for you all. I'll leave it there long enough that in case you're looking at work-oriented stuff for yourself. But I think that is an amazing way to end this little chat. And where I got cut off and it came back on, I don't know how that's going to upload, but we'll find out. So listen, keep your chin up and stand up tall. Try to calm that internal bouncy house. Please don't visualize the problems anymore. Visualize the solutions, and be careful over the next few days. Be aware. Okay. Take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.